Hello students, let us continue chapter 10, reaching the age of adolescence. In this lesson we are learning about adolescence and puberty. Yesterday we have learned about changes at puberty. The first change we have learned, increase in height, and we can see that the most conspicuous change during puberty is the sudden increase in height. At this time the long bones, that is the bones of the arms and the legs, elongate and make a person tall. Second change we have learned, change in body shape, and we can see that in case of boys, broader shoulders and wider chest. And another thing we can see, in case of girls, below the waist become wider. These changes we can notice in case of boys and girls during the adolescence period. Today we are going to learn some other changes of your body during adolescence period. Okay, let's begin the session now. Okay children, today we are going to learn third change, that is a voice change. Did you notice that sometimes the voice of some of boys in your class cracks? Okay, till when the boys were in 4th and 5th standard, their voice were very normal, but when they reach the standard of 7 and 8, we can see that some changes happens in the voice of boys. We can see some cracks are coming when they are speaking. At puberty, the voice box or the larynx begins to grow. Boys develop larger voice boxes. The growing voice box in boys can be seen as a protruding part of the throat, that is called the Adam's apple. You can see the diagram, some projection in place of throat, that is known as Adam's apple. But in girls the larynx is hardly visible from the outside because of its small size. That means in case of girls the larynx is hardly visible because it is very small size, so we cannot visible outside. But in case of boys there is a projection in throat because of little bit bigger size it is, and that is known as, that projection it is known as Adam's apple. Generally girls have high pitched voice, whereas boys have a deep voice. In adolescent boys sometimes the muscles of the growing voice box go out of control and the voice become hoarse. So you have already noticed that when the boys are speaking, their voice are cracking and there are some out of control. We can feel that because of the growth of the muscles it is. This state may remain for a few days or weeks, after which his voice becomes normal, and the cracking sound or the rough sound we can hear few weeks. After a few weeks their voice will become normal. Okay, that is about the voice change of boys and girls. And boys, cracking sound, the crack sound or a sharp voice we can hear, and in place of throat we can see some projection, that is known as Adam's apple. But in girls the larynx is a small size, so it is not visible outside. Next one, increased activity of sweat and sebaceous gland. Next change we can see the changes in sweat glands, that means sebaceous gland. During the puberty, the secretion of sweat glands and sebaceous glands increases. The puberty time, the adolescence period, the sebaceous gland increases. Many young people get acne and pimples on face at the time of puberty because of the increased activity of the sebaceous gland in the skin. We can see at the time of puberty, that means adolescence time, at the time of teenagers time, we can see the face of the girls and boys, some pimples are there because of the active participation, we can say, the activity of the sebaceous glands. The sebaceous glands are active during this period. Now, development of sex organs. Now look at the diagram 9.1 and 9.3 of the previous lesson. The lesson number 9, you have already learned about the diagram 9.1 and 3, which shows sex organs of humans. At puberty, male sex organs like the testis and penis develop completely. The testis also begins to produce sperms in girls, ovaries will enlarge, and eggs begins to mature. Also ovaries start releasing mature eggs. That boys and girls, you can feel the changes in your body when the adolescence age starting, the puberty time, your sex organs also will be active, that also developing properly. In case of boys, you can see the testis and penis develop completely, and in case of girls, ovaries enlarge and eggs begins to mature, and ovaries start releasing mature eggs. That means they will start menstrual period also. Okay. Now reaching mental and intellectual emotional maturity. So mental changes will also happen. What is that? Just see that. Adolescence is also a period of change in a person's way of thinking. In the previous video I told you, during the adolescence period your way of thinking also changing. Adolescents are most independent than before and also self-conscious. These students at the time of adolescence period, they are very self-conscious. Intellectual development takes place and they tend to spend considerable time of thinking. So their intellectual time starting, and most of the time they start thinking. In fact, it is often the time in one's life when the brain has the greatest capacity for learning, and the brain also developing at this time sometimes. However, an adolescent may feel insecure while trying to adjust the changes in the body and the mind. They are feeling some insecurity during this period. But as an adolescent learners, you should know that there is no reason to feel insecure. These changes are a natural part of growing up. Sometimes you are feeling insecure, but you know, here it is saying that there is no need of worrying. That is a natural change. Yesterday in the previous video I told you, it is happening to everyone's life. It is quite natural. No need of worry about this changes of your body and mind because of some hormone changes. All these things will happen everybody's body, so no need of getting worry about that. And the intellectual and emotional maturity, that will also happening during the period of adolescence. You will start thinking more, and you will become self-conscious about your body, and some insecurity feeling also coming into your mind, but there is no need of worry. That is quite natural. Okay, I hope you are understood this session. Today this portion we have learned about the changes of your eyes. About the boys, Adam's apple is there, but in case of girls it is very small, so it is not visible, and the sebaceous gland will become active during this period. Because of that, some pimples are appearing on your face, and sex organs are developing during this time, and your mental thinking, intellectual and emotional maturity will also happen during the period of adolescence and puberty. Okay, children? Okay, today's our next topic is secondary sexual characters. You have already learned in the chapter 9 that testes and ovaries are the reproductive organ. Testes in case of boys and ovaries in case of girls are the reproductive organs. They produce the gametes, that is sperms and the ova. That means testes produce sperms, ovaries produce ova. In girls, breast begins to develop at puberty, and boys begins to grow facial hair, that is mustaches and beard. That also you are familiar. As these features help to distinguish the male from the female, they are called the secondary sexual character. Due to this characters, and in case of girls, we can see the breast begins to develop at the time of puberty, and in case of boys, facial hair begins to develop, mustaches and beard. So we can distinguish male and female. So this is known as secondary sexual characters. Now boys also develop hair on their chest. In both boys and girls, hair grows under the arms in the region above the thigh or the pubic region. So hair is also developing some private parts of the body. Okay, the changes which occur at adolescence are controlled by hormones. I told you in the previous video, whatever changes are happening in our body due to the development of the hormones. Hormones are chemical substances. These are secretions from endocrine glands or endocrine system. In our body, so many systems are there, and one of the system is the endocrine system, and these hormones are produced by endocrine glands from the endocrine system. The male hormone, that is known as testosterone, begins to be released by the testes at the onset of puberty. This causes changes in boys, about which you have just learned. Because of the hormone of testosterone, that is in case of boys, this hormone it causes the changes of the body of boys. And next one, for example, the growth of facial hair and etc., it is happening because of the testosterone in case of boys. Once puberty is reached in girls, ovaries begins to produce the female hormone, that is known as estrogen, which makes the breast develop. So the boy's hormone, that is known as testosterone, and girl's hormone is that is known as estrogen. So all these two types of hormones are changing the body changes what is happening at the time of adolescence. Milk secreting glands or mammary glands develop inside the breast in case of girls. Now the production of these hormones is under the control of another hormone secreted from an endocrine gland, that is known as pituitary gland. The production of these hormones, all these hormones, testosterone, estrogen, all these hormones are secreted from an endocrine gland, that is known as pituitary gland. That is known as, the pituitary gland is also known as master gland. Okay, these are the secondary sexual characters. Because of some hormone, in case of boys testosterone, and in case of girls estrogen, these two are the hormones. Because of these hormones, some changes are happening in the body of boys and girls during the adolescence period. Okay, let's learn the next topic, role of hormone in initiating reproductive function. So endocrine glands releases hormones into the bloodstream to reach a particular body part called the target site. The target sites respond to the hormone. There are many endocrine glands or ductless glands in our body. So many endocrine glands or ductless glands are there in our body. The testes and ovaries secrete sex hormones. The testes and ovaries, testes of boys and ovaries of girls secrete sex hormones. You have just learned that these hormones are responsible for the male and female secondary sexual characters. Further, the sex hormones are under the control of hormone from the pituitary gland. I told you pituitary gland is the master gland. It controls the function of all other hormones in our body. The pituitary secretes many hormones, one of which make ova mature in the ovaries and sperms form in the testes. Because of this, pituitary secrete many hormones, one of which make ova in case of girls, mature in ovaries, and sperms form in the testes. Okay, this much about the hormones of girls and boys of sexual hormones. Hormones from pituitary stimulate testes and ovaries to release testosterone in male and estrogen in female. So these are about the portion from this slide, that is about secondary sexual characters and role of hormone in initiating reproductive function. This portion we have learned mainly two things. Two types of hormones are there: testosterone in case of male, estrogen in case of female. Because of this hormone, the changes are happening in the body of males and the females. And the pituitary gland is there in our body, that is known as master gland. It controls the function of all other hormones in the body. Okay children, I hope you understood this portion also. Yes, children. Our next topic, reproductive phase of life in humans. Adolescents become capable of reproduction when their testes and ovaries begin to produce gametes. When the adolescents become capable, they will become capable of reproduction when their testes in case of boys and ovaries in case of girls begin to reproduce gametes. The capacity for maturation and reproduction of gametes lasts for a much longer time in males than in females. Listen children, the capacity for maturation and production of female gametes or male gametes lasts for a much longer time in males than in females. In females, the reproductive phase of life begins at 10 to 12 years of age. When the girl becomes at the age of 10 or 12, the reproductive phase of life begins. Okay, and generally lasts till at the age of approximately 45 to 50 years. So girls reproductive phase time starting from 10 to 12 years and ending approximately to 45 to 50 years. The ova begins to mature with the onset of puberty. One ova matures and is released by one of the ovaries once in about 28 to 30 days. Children, with the girls, you are knowing that the ova begins to mature with the onset of puberty, and one ovum matures and is released by one of the ovaries once in a month. That is known as menstrual period. During this period, the wall of the uterus becomes thick so as to receive the egg in case it is fertilized and begins to develop. This results in pregnancy. If fertilization does not occur, the released egg and the thickened lining of the uterus along with its blood vessels are shed off. This causes bleeding in women, which is called the menstruation. So girls, you are knowing that your menstruation period, because of this it is happening. That means the ovum matures and released by one of the ovaries once in a month. So that is the meaning of menstrual period. Menstruation occurs once in about 28 to 30 days. That means once in a month. The first menstrual flow begins at puberty and is termed the menarche. At 45 to 50 years of age, the menstrual cycle stops. Listen children, that is not compulsory. It depends the hereditary. Some people, the menstrual period will stop at the age of or below the age of 50, but some people it can continue after 50 years also. The menstrual cycle stops after 50 years. It depends the hereditary of our family. It's not compulsory. All the female will stop the menstrual cycle after 50 years. Stoppage of menstruation is termed the menopause. That means the first menstrual flow begins puberty, that is known as a menarche, but when the menses period is stopping, that particular period, that is known as menopause. Initially, menstrual cycle may be irregular. It takes some time to be regular. So that is because of our hormone changes. In the beginning, the menstrual cycle, it may be irregular. Sometimes once in a month it not coming, sometimes it coming after 2 months or 3 months, but after 1 year or 2 years it may be regular. So no need of worrying about that. Menstrual cycle is controlled by hormones. Because of this changes are happening, because of hormones, all these changes are happening in our body. The cycle includes the maturation of the egg. It releases thickening of uterine wall and its breakdown of if pregnancy does not occur. In case the egg is fertilized, it begins to divide and then get embedded in the uterus for further development, as you have learned in the chapter 9, that means the development of baby. So menstrual cycle is controlled by hormone. The cycle includes maturation of the egg. It releases thickening of uterine wall and its breakdown if pregnancy does not occur. Okay, so this much only we have learned from this portion. So reproductive phase of life in humans. So in case of boys and girls, so many changes are happening in your body during this adolescence period that you are facing. You are knowing that what are the changes happening in your body and what are the changes happening in your mind also. In case of girls, I told you the ovum matures and released once in a month. That is known as menstrual period, and it is starting from 10 to 12 years and it may stop 45 to 50 years. That stopping period, that is known as menopause. Okay children, today we are going to wind up the session now, and the next video we will learn about how is the sex of the baby determined. Okay, today let's stop the session now. I will come with another video with another new topic. Till then, take care, keep learning. All of you read the textbook thoroughly. I told you the previous video, for writing all type of answers, textbook reading is compulsory. Okay, thank you.